What is the secret plan that Kacho and Melody are cooking up in Hunter x Hunter 402? Also, does Prince Fugetsu realize that her twin sister is actually dead? And just who cursed her? Well, we're going to talk about all of those things, but spoilers beware. Alright, so to begin, let me give a brief recap on the entire Kacho Fugetsu situation. And if you'll recall, back in chapter 383, the two of them attempted to escape from the Black Whale. However, they quickly came to find out that this is against the rules of the succession contest. You cannot leave the premises. And as a result, Kacho was actually killed because this is punishable by death. However, it was then revealed what her guardian Nin Beast actually is. And its ability is essentially to take on the form of Kacho should she pass away. And it also would have taken on the form of Fugetsu had Fugetsu been the one to pass away. But since Kacho died, it took on Kacho's form, basically serving as a replacement, a clone of her to serve and protect Fugetsu until she dies. So Prince Kacho is indeed dead. However, she's still around for all intents and purposes due to her guardian Nin Beast's ability. And Fugetsu does not know this. But Melody and Kaiser, on the other hand, they know the truth. They know that Kacho is now a Nin Beast, but they are keeping that from Fugetsu in order to protect her. And that is the status quo coming into chapter 402. And here's where things get a bit interesting. Because in chapter 402, Prince Fugetsu is not doing well. She is currently afflicted by some sort of Nin curse that Melody and Kacho are doing anything they can to try and alleviate. So Kacho privately reveals to Melody that she discovered this injection mark on Prince Fugetsu's back, leading them to believe that this is the cause of whatever it is that's afflicting her. And because it looks like some sort of drug injection, that led them to think that their primary candidate would be Prince Loserus, due to his connection to the black market and drugs. They think that maybe this has something to do with his ability, and that's what's happening to her. So they hatch a plan to take out Prince Loserus. Now, before we continue with the secret plan, let's pause briefly and talk about who might have actually done this to Prince Fugetsu. And let's start with Loserus, who Melody and Kacho think it is. And I do think this is a pretty prime candidate because things seem to line up pretty nicely. The issue is the rules of the succession contest, which are that guardian Nin Beasts cannot attack the other princes, nor can they attack other princes' guardian Nin Beasts. So, does it even make sense for Loserus and or his Nin Beasts to have done this to Fugetsu? Wouldn't that break the rules? And maybe, but we don't know how hard and fast those rules are. Perhaps there are loopholes or kind of ways to circumvent it. And what I mean by that is that we know his guardian Nin Beast, its ability takes the form of showing people what they want the most in the world. It essentially sets traps for people, right? And then if you fall for that trap, you then get afflicted by its ability, right? Which we haven't seen that take shape yet, so maybe it is what's happening to Fugetsu, maybe it's not. But what's interesting is that with Fugetsu, we know that she could previously only use her ability, the portal door, once per day. However, recently she's been using it a bunch per day. So what if this Nin Beast has set its trap by showing her her portal door, saying that like the thing you want most is a way to escape with your twin sister. So here, keep using your ability, keep learning more about it, when in reality it's just draining her and cursing her and making her that much weaker. So because it is a trap that Fugetsu is kind of like willingly using, could that circumvent the rule of not being able to hurt another prince? I don't know, but it's possible. So I do think he's a pretty fair candidate, especially given his connection to drugs and his guardian Nin Beast's ability seemingly fitting the scheme of what's happening to Fugetsu. But it might not be him. Another possibility is I think this could be one of Beyond's children's curses that is afflicting Fugetsu. Because as Long He told us, Beyond had a bunch of children that are now stationed all over this ship as guards and who knows what else, whose sole purpose is to die in order to curse various princes, right? And what's happening to Fugetsu, all we've seen so far are like these weak little curse things following her, but it could just be that that's not the full effect of the curse, or it could be that it's only a weak curse afflicting her right now, because Long He told us that Beyond had a bunch of children. Some of them were purposed with very strong curses, but others with weak curses. So maybe it was just one of Beyond's weaker cursed children that died that is now afflicted with Fugetsu with this, because guards have been dropping like flies. For all we know, some of Beyond's children could have already kicked the bucket. Another option, and I don't think this one is likely, but I think it's interesting enough to include just for the parallel here, is Prince Tyson's Nin Beast, which we know creates these little eyewogs that attach to people who have read the Book of Tyson, and in exchange for aura, grant them happiness. And we know that there aren't any eyewogs on Fugetsu because Melody would have been able to see them, but I just think it's interesting that Prince Fugetsu is getting like deliriously happy while also being drained of her aura. It's like the exact same phenomenon. So could there be some sort of connection here? I don't know. And then the final interesting option that I've been thinking about is what if Kaiser has something to do with this? Mr. Justice Bureau himself, because he's an enigma, right? Melody cannot get a read on this guy. His heartbeat never fluctuates, so she can't tell when he's lying, when he's telling the truth. And, he claims to be in love with her and just wanting to help them for the good of the country, right? He thinks Fugetsu would be a good person to land on the throne. It's all sounding real good, but it just is a little sus, right? So I think there could be something more going on with him, and perhaps he is pulling all the strings, trying to navigate the chessboard as he sees fit, and is using Fugetsu as a pawn. So now let's loop back to Kacho and Melody's secret plan. And I say secret because there's more than meets the eye in this chapter. There are actually two little plotting sessions. One where it's just Melody and Kacho, and then one where they loop Kaiser in. Except Tagashi is crafty and he doesn't really make this abundantly clear. Like, unless you're really paying attention to the backgrounds of scenes, you might just assume it was the same scene the whole time and Kaiser was always there. But he wasn't. So why would he do that way? And I think it's because Kacho and Melody are keeping things from Kaiser because they don't trust him, as they shouldn't, right? Because of all the weirdness with him. So as it's presented to us, Melody and Kacho talk. Then they go loop in Kaiser and basically tell him that they're suspicious of Loserus, right? And that, hey, we've got this plan that we're going to take out Loserus by getting him off the ship so that he dies for breaking the rules in that way. And we're going to use Fugetsu's portal doors to do it. But, we need somebody to carry Loserus's body. And at that point, Kaiser jumps in and is like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, they make him think it's his idea, right? But then they say, oh, wait, there's a problem. Fugetsu has to have been somewhere before in order to open a door there. And so then again, Kaiser's like, oh, I can handle that. I'll get you guys into all of the prince's rooms. Again, making it appear as if it's his idea, right? But here's where it's interesting because I don't think Fugetsu actually has that restriction. There's never been mention of Fugetsu having to have been somewhere in order to open a door there, and we've seen her open at least two doors to locations that we think she's never been before. The first is straight into Prince Kacho's room the first time she uses it. Now, I will say, devil's advocate, maybe she has been to her sister's room before because they are so close, so maybe, right? But we also know that Fugetsu used her portal door to get to tier 3 of the ship, which I don't think she would have ever been on tier 3. She is literally royalty, right? She's probably never even been to tier 2. So I really don't think she had ever been there before. And again, without an explicit mention of this restriction up until this point, I feel as if this is a lie that Melody and Kacho are planting here in order to get Kaiser to walk right into the palm of their hand. Because again, this gets him to suggest these things as if they're his idea, saying, hey, we shouldn't just go to Loserus's room, let's go to all of the prince's rooms. Think of a reason why we would need to do that. And Kacho immediately comes up with the letter plan, as if she already had this in mind, right? Saying, hey, yeah, we'll go to all the rooms because we can say that Kacho wrote them each a letter. Now, I don't know this to be the case because we can't know for sure whether or not that restriction on the portal door exists or not. But if it doesn't, why would Melody and Kacho do this? Well, first and foremost, I think it's because they don't trust Kaiser and maybe they want to see what he would do. But it could also be that they have alternative motives for getting into those other princes' rooms. Perhaps it's even for Melody to covertly communicate with her allies. For example, Basho, whom we see specifically help Prince Fugetsu in this scenario, whereas he might have not had the chance to otherwise. It also, if nothing else, gives Fugetsu and Kaiser front row seats to gauge the reaction of all of the other princes when presented with this information, which might help them figure out who the actual culprit is. This whole scenario just has so many levels of deception and subterfuge that it is just so captivating, like the entire Succession War arc, right? Because, I mean, look, we have Prince Fugetsu who thinks her sister is alive but actually isn't, going around telling everyone else that she's dead when in fact she kind of isn't, considering her Ninbeast is still around. Meanwhile, you have, Kaiser thinking that they are going around to all of these rooms in order to get her access with the portal door there, when in fact that might not be true at all, when in reality Kacho and Melody have their own plans for doing all of this. And, I can't say for certain whether any of those things are hard fact or not, but it's just so compelling to think about the possibilities here. So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on all of this. What do you think is going on? Do you think Melody and Kacho have their own secret plan at play here? Do you think that they even think Loserus is the true suspect, or is that all just a red herring misdirect to get Kaiser to play into their hands? Can Fugetsu open up a door to somewhere she's never been before? Just hit me with all of it. It is so good to have Hunter x Hunter back. As always, y'all, thank you so much for watching.